Welcome back, everybody. I am one of your hosts, taking charge, I guess, anchoring it down for this week. Uh, that's effing weird, where we always examine things that are strange, unusual, paranormal, possibly crypto, whatever it is that strikes our fancy. I am one of your hosts, Clark. Who am I joined by today?
I am Seth.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Amber.
Awesome. That was flawless. Amber, welcome. I believe you have a classic cryptid tale and some stuff you want to hash out.
Yeah, so I figured tonight we could talk about Chupacabra.
Okay.
Classic, mostly Central and South American cryptid. Name literally translates into goat sucker. So there's some interesting stories out there. Lot of different variants on it as well. We've got the main Chupacabra, which made its first appearance in the 70s, but there's stories going back to the 40s and 50s from other places of very similar cryptids that people think are the same thing.
Wow. Yeah, I actually don't know anything about its time frame origins. I think if I was put on the spot, I wouldn't be able to tell you like general dates. Okay, so you're saying like 30s, 40s, 50s?
40s and 50s, give or take. One of
I feel like that's really modern for a cryptid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I mean, yeah, we've had some that we just have kind of stumbled upon, like with the Tasman tiger and things like that we thought were extinct and then just rediscovered. Yeah, I mean, we're still discovering new species every day. I mean, most of them are insects, obviously, but we are still discovering new species all the time.
Ooh, like deep sea oddities, like those oil rigs, or when they stick a camera down like a hole in Antarctica.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
It really is. Some of the stuff they've pulled up.
Yeah. But okay, so go ahead. All right, so this is pretty modern for a cryptid, but continue.
Yeah, so for cryptids, it is very modern. There's rumors of older stories, but those are the ones that were passed down from family to family verbally, and a lot of those have been lost. There's no time frame with them. But some of the earliest written accounts I could find were El Vampiro de Mocha, the Vampire of Mocha, which Peru, I believe, or Puerto Rico, somewhere down there. And it, again, went after the livestock. It would completely drain them of blood, which is where the term vampire came into play. Anything from goats and chickens to cows and larger animals as well. And I've heard at least one report of a human being attacked by the Chupacabra after his family didn't keep enough goats around to make it happy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It really is, yeah.
So this thing, from the early reports, it preyed on like herds of animals.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, again, goats, cows, chickens would all either go missing or they'd be found in the morning with no blood at all. A couple of the reports of the Vampire of Mocha also mentioned that it would somehow manage to suck out the heart of whatever creature it was consuming without leaving a trace.
Wow.
Which...
Ouch.
So
Yeah,
wait,
that
so
one's
wait,
a little
so what do you
scary.
mean? So, all right, I need a little bit more of it. All right, what do you mean suck out the heart? Like the heart would like implode?
Somehow, while it was sucking out the blood, it would manage to pull out the heart through these tiny little third of an inch, half-inch incisions.
Oh, so this is like
Wow.
all close to like cattle mutilation type stuff, but but
Yeah.
associated with a creature.
Yeah.
Huh.
And was it leaving marks like a vampire, like a bite marks, or?
It would, a lot of the reports say that it would leave 3 punctures in a triangle shape, uh, uh, maybe a 1/4 inch.
Yeah, that's wait. Oh, so the bite marks were a 1/4 inch in like diameter, or all of the like the triangular of it was a 1/4 inch diameter.
Uh, I've heard or read accounts of both where
Okay.
the marks themselves would take up about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and some where each puncture was a 1/2 inch,
Oh wow,
which is
it's rough.
huge.
Yeah. So I have seen some. Okay, every now and then they like do it, like upload a video on YouTube. It's about the chupacabra or something in like a field, and it's usually farmers that wake up and like find something attacking their animals. There was this one that I saw that visually didn't make any sense, and I've told Clark before, it looked it didn't look fake to me. Like I didn't detect, it just looked like someone pulled out a cell phone and recorded like this thing that was, I think it was like a goat or a sheep. It was something like that, and the dogs were going crazy. He was like keeping kind of an appropriate distance, but also trying to scare this thing off. It was wild. If I find it, I'm gonna put it in the one of the channels on here on the Discord. But it was gnarly, but it looked real. And I earlier I was saying, like, if there was something that was plausible of something that like is breeding out there that could like hide in, there's a lot of terrain to hide, especially if it's a rare species. I could see this going down. But yeah, I've seen some gnarly videos. I don't know if you have.
There is a lot of crazy videos out there. I've seen a lot of them. Um, some of them show the cattle mutilation, the animals after they've been sucked dry. There's also a lot of videos where people claim to have caught something, uh,
Yeah.
which a lot of times it looks like a coyote or a wild dog with some sort of abnormality or illness or whatever, which matches some of the descriptions given for Chupacabra,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many different descriptions for it out there.
I think that's what's so chilling to me about the chupacabra is how it's not completely outrageous. I could totally see an animal with maybe some sort of disease or maybe a genetic mutation that could fit the description close enough.
Yeah. Amber, are you aware of? Okay, there's something they have in a museum that was caught like relatively recently, and there's back and forth on if it's like a new species or I mean, it's clearly in the canine category, but the looks of it are pretty wild. Do you have any info on that by any chance?
It depends on which one you're talking about, really. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
I think the most common one that comes up actually turned out to genetically be a coyote, likely one that had scabies or mange.
Yes.
Mm.
Let's see. Yeah, there's one that they have in a museum. I'm looking at it right now. Hold on. I'm trying to find out the name. Hold on. Chupacabra mystery. Yeah, it does look like it could be a coyote with like some kind of weird skin condition.
Yeah, that, like I said, that does fit some of the descriptions. Some of them say it's a dog-like creature with scales, or skin that's starting to rot.
Yeah.
A lot of the descriptions mention that it has spikes or spines along its back, though, which that doesn't quite make it.
Yeah. Here, I'll drop it in there so you guys have a reference. There we go.
Yeah, I think like with a lot of like corpses that are found, like the main small, and I say small, like predators, being mountain lions, lynx, things like that, and then obviously coyotes being So I find it interesting that it's become relegated to the American Southwest and Mexico, because you did mention Puerto Rico earlier, and I've always heard that Puerto Rico was the actual um like origin of the chupacabra like myth or urban legend, like the first like legend of the creature. So I find it interesting that it's like a this is how I've been told from friends of mine that are Puerto Rican, that it was kind of like originally there as like a old wives tale or a, you know, urban legend that grew and became a thing, and now it's like kind of expanded. So now we think of it like as being Mexico or American Southwest, things like that, or Central America in general. But I find it interesting that it could have been an island, like a you know, a sea locked creature
Mhm.
originally. How did it get to, like, you know, places like that, or is it just the stories told that got over there?
So there's a couple different possibilities here. Some of the earlier descriptions actually give it wings,
Wow.
which would completely explain how that moved. Um, but I've found reports in so many different places, mostly Central and South America, Honduras, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Peru, Argentina, and so on. But there's also reports of Texas, Alabama, Maine, which that one was just crazy, and one in Australia, of all places.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything, but the video that I was referring to earlier definitely looked like it had wings, but I didn't want to say it because it would just sound crazy, and I would rather you guys look at the video first. Um, but that is interesting.
Oh, I mean, is it always described as a four-legged creature also?
It's not.
Okay.
There are a lot of descriptions of it where it's more of an humanoid alien type creature, where it's squat, coming up to about 3 feet tall, grayish skin, wings. Um, a couple of people have even hypothesized that the Jersey Devil might be a chupacabra,
Hmm.
which that was just insane.
Yeah.
Up until you said 3 feet tall, I was picturing the Mothman. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot of crossover in cryptids I've found. So it's very possible that, if this thing is real, people have just assumed that a bunch of different cryptids are the same thing instead of looking
Yeah.
at 10 different creatures.
I
Oh
think we
man.
definitely, I think we definitely think of. I know in popular culture, in general, what we think of as like the chupacabra as being a like coyote esque, like four-legged kind of predator, like a small predator kind of thing. But yeah, I never considered maybe it's actually aviary, and if
Hmm.
it is, you know, that draws a whole new dynamic into it. Honestly, and that's kind of interesting just to think about.
Yeah.
Um, I would almost want to look at kind of like early colonial Caribbean like documents of like things they saw, because you said it was in Hispaniola, it was in Dominican Republic, things like that. So, um, you know, and obviously Puerto Rico is where I have heard like the origin stories. That's what I've always heard was the origin story of the chupacabra. Um, so I find that very interesting. Like if anybody, you know, because if you're gonna find wild tales of creatures, you're gonna find it in historical documents of sailors. Uh,
Ooh, yeah.
so
mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the giant squid. It was always fascinating to me to read reports of the giant squid from seafarers.
Yeah, I like how the Pirates of the Caribbean just embraced certain things to be 100% real to these characters, like the Kraken.
Hmm.
Yeah, love it. There was I remember I've told you before, Clark. There is an old map that shows stuff on Antarctica, and it's believed to be trans or copied from an even older map, and it had like drawings of animals and various things, like on Antarctica, like trees and vegetation, but specifically animals. Um, I would love to. I wish there was. You would know this, Clerk. If somebody wanted to look up certain voyages like journals, do they just sell those journals as like how do you get access to that?
I mean, if you want if you want
Yeah,
primary document access, you have to go to where that is actually at. But a lot of them are scanned in now
yeah, that's what I
online.
mean.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So are there
Most of,
volumes like that they print?
yep, most of it
Oh,
is in universities. So you got to remember that a lot of these documents are retained by universities, depending on who has them. So if it
yeah.
is, I'm just throwing it out there somewhere like Florida State University or something like has, maybe some Spanish documents of like gold trade and things like that, and like what they were taking from the New World basically in the late 16th century and things like that. And that's basically where you have to track it down at. You can find, I mean, like I said, we have everything at our disposal now with computers and the internet, so you can find where it is if you want to see it personally. A lot of documents are available. Um, some are not so much available. You need special. But
Okay.
like for me, I was a Civil War historian. I was a military historian. Is what I did. And if like you want to see like a lot of the official records, they're printed online. That we call them the OR, the official records of the Civil War. Like it's a day by day journal, basically taken. Um, at the time, primary source, and you can see whatever you want from that. Now, if you want to see personal journals from like the people, like general, if I want to see like George Thomas or Ulysses Grant or Robert E. Lee or whoever I wanted to see their personal stuff, those are usually done at personal libraries. Ulysses Grant obviously has a presidential library in Illinois because that's where he's from. So you have to go there if you want to see these documents in person. But most everything is scanned in online at this point if you want to find it.
This is something I'm going to look into, and we've got to look for references of a dog-like creature that sucks blood. I'm gonna scan everything.
Sounds like a fun Saturday night.
Yeah, yeah,
And those are going to be harder to find. Like I said, if you want the early like 16th century records and stuff like that, like I mean they're there, but you can
yeah.
find. I mean,
Now, what would be great is if it was all scanned and digitized to where there was a search function. That would be cool, but I don't know.
yeah. Well, that becomes even harder because also we have to adapt for language, not only translation,
Mhm.
but language changes. Obviously, it evolves over time. So our
Yeah,
lingo, our slang, our dialect, everything like kind of changes. So Spanish uh, in the 1590s is not Spanish today. So
yeah,
Yeah, not even close. Um,
yeah. Once you
there's
start talking
also
about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
just saying there's also the illiteracy rate to account for. Yeah, not as many people back then knew how to read or write or even spell their own names.
that's right.
Yeah,
And a lot of the people that when you look back at history and you think like, oh my gosh, this person was so smart, they spoke four languages. Well, sometimes they only spoke 100 words of another language, but that was
yeah.
all they
That's what
knew.
you were telling me when they were voting. We almost got to speak German. They were voting on what language we were going to speak in the States, and and you were like, oh yeah, well, languages were like 100 words.
Yeah. Yeah, it did not take that much to speak. Like you could be in in the 16 1700s, you could speak English, Spanish, French, German, and pretty much get your point across because there was such less context at the time versus what we have today. Like we have
Interesting.
so many words today.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's hard to imagine any language like based on 100 words. That's really hard for me to process. That's seems very limited, but I actually don't know how many words I know. Like, what is there a ballpark on what the average like North American knows? I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. This is another side tangent. Sorry.
It's a really interesting one, though.
Yes. And I was trying to think what 100 word could amount to, and the only thing that comes to mind is maybe a kids show, Dora the Explorer or something like that. That could maybe be 100 words.
Yeah.
Have another
Yeah.
language.
That's a good
Like
point.
you could have enough in that time period
Mm-hmm.
to actually like converse. And
Oh,
actually, if you had two people come across and you had just enough words, you know what I mean? Like you could
Right.
actually be able to do that. Like you could it's just crazy to think about. Like we think this person was fluent in four languages, and it's like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe they were for that time fluent. They were able to
Oh.
actually get everything they needed to get across.
So I
Just
shouldn't feel
enough to do
bad.
some commerce and maybe to order a drink.
Yeah. So I shouldn't feel bad that like some of the founding fathers knew like a billion languages. I
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah.
be.
It was
Okay, cool.
politics, converse, and bar talk. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that Franklin had a propensity for silly humor. We'll put it that way. Okay. All right, as of 2021, in English, the average native speaker knows about 20,000 words. That goes up to 40,000 words when we're talking about a college educated person. Um, so I probably fall below
Interesting.
40,000. I get by. That's a lot of words. Like 20
It
to
is.
40,000 versus 100. That's crazy. What, because it's not the internet. This was happening before, you know what I mean? Like, Clark, can you enlighten me? Like, this was happening before, modern info, like, being exchanged. There had to have been, like, way more words after that. Like,
Yeah.
let's say, like, mid 1800s to 1900s.
Yeah, more words are being invented.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I mean, Shakespeare is a classic example of someone who invented words. There were words that he used in his plays that were not words before that. Like he just kind of threw them out there, and people are doing it all the time. Like I don't want to get us in trouble with. Sorry, something recently I heard about, like with Scientology, like they use words like interbulated and things like that to
I'm pretty sure Thetan levels is made up too.
all that. Yeah, but not to get us under a crosshairs of anybody.
I don't
Stuff
think there's too many Scientologist sympathizers listening to us right now.
they
I
use
hope not.
they use like interbulation as a word for being angered. Like you're angering me right now. If you're upsetting me,
Oh,
you're interbulating me.
I'm sorry for interbulating you.
So, so things like that. I mean, words are just getting invented all the time, and you think about it with our I mean, just all of our art and music and pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like things are
Hmm.
constantly kind of like becoming something new. So
Okay.
Technology as well.
Yeah.
yeah, technology invents new words all the time. Like we have to have words to, make up for the new gap we have in something that exists that did not exist before.
Yeah. Yeah, like just like computing terms, like JavaScript, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Or just,
Well,
one-off stuff that's now like becoming archaic, like AIM. I say AIM, and people don't know what that,
what do you
AOL Instant
mean? No, what do you
Messenger.
mean by that?
AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, AIM. I
Oh,
thought
it
you
does
just meant the
spell aim.
Oh, okay. I know what
needed a
that
minute for
is.
that.
Like I said, it's literally something that was created and had a 10-year run and now is a dead word.
Okay, I got you. That makes sense. Okay.
So think about reading stuff in the 1500s now, and you're looking at words that are probably dead now. Like those
Yeah.
words mean nothing anymore.
I have some historical documents on an old house over here, and there were like like deed type stuff and transfers of like wealth to family members in relation to like property. And the first off, it's all in cursive. And the stuff that I can decipher is really hard to I can't even remember like half of the stuff I read. It's very I would have to sit down and type it all out and then kind of decipher what it is after it's in like recognizable characters. But it's difficult, and it's very fancy and beautiful to look at, but I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're talking about. Back then they were going off of like paces and using like rocks rivers, trees as like boundary placements for property before we had
Uh-huh.
like surveying equipment.
Well, this one also blow your mind. Time is
Mm.
completely relative to people. Not just in a like a scientific way of saying time is relative, but studying like as a military historian, when you are trying to do records of like you're looking at different people's post battle like records, they will do time based on what their watch said. It has nothing to do with what the actual time was. So like they're just going by, oh, the sun is here, it's probably 12 o'clock, it's probably 11:30.
Okay. So
Because
they're
they're
like guesstimations, yeah.
yeah, it's all and you look at that across like the same battlefield, and somebody on the west side of the battlefield and somebody that's 2 miles on the other side of the front on the east side, they'll be like, yeah, it was 4:30 a.m. when I mustered my troops, and these people will be like, yeah, it was 5:30 when I mustered my troops, and you have their whole times are an hour off, but yet you have reports from the other side where they say, oh, we were attacked at 4:45 or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
and like and none of it matches up, and you got to like make sense of it because like time was even not even a thing. Like we have an atomic clock now. We have we have GPS, we have satellites. You can just iPhone, and I know exactly what time it is where you're at or where any of you
Mhm.
guys are.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know. On this podcast, I don't know what time it is or anybody.
that is our biggest problem.
Being spread out does that.
It
Yeah,
is crazy to think that you couldn't even line up time from someone who's 20 miles away from you.
that is pretty crazy. That's nuts.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and the second problem we have is side tangents. So sorry, Amber. We can get back on the track of Chupacabra. Uh, so like, at what point are we in this kind of chronology? Like I feel like we've gotten past the 40s and we're kind of into modern day. We have talked about the sightings. We talked about, and I dropped that picture in one of the rooms on what they do have in a museum, which probably is just a diseased coyote or something. But you just go for it. I'm sorry for that interruption.
You know what? Side tangents are fun and they do add
They
a lot
are.
to the conversation.
They are.
So I have no complaints about that whatsoever. I think next up, so the first reports of it as being Chupacabra were in the 70s in Canavenas.
Okay.
Woman came out one morning and a bunch of her goats were dead, missing all their blood. She saw some creature with glowing red eyes run off into the forest. And honestly, that's another point for the Chupacabra where
Yeah.
we get different descriptions again.
Yeah.
Some people say they've got glowing red eyes. Some people say they have solid black eyes. And there's even people who say that if it looks at you, you start feeling sick.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, could it having like solid black eyes be like similar to like if someone shines a light at it, it reflects red, the same way cameras,
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
like camera flash does. That would just be something. It might have black eyes, but it might people might report it as red because they are shining flashlights or something at it.
Or fires, maybe.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, especially since these things usually struck at night. Yeah. So if somebody heard a commotion, ran outside, the first thing they're going to do is grab a flashlight or a lantern or something and try to see what's out there.
Now, I will ask the actual name Chupacabra. I've always heard is like literally translated as to goat sucker. Have you heard or read like is that a pretty accurate translation or
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can tell, yes. Chupra is essentially sucker, and then cabra translates to goat, so goat sucker. Pretty accurate. The first animals that were said to have been attacked by it were goats, so it makes sense. But the term chupacabra was actually it's attributed to Severio Perez, who is a TV host, comedian, and musician from Puerto Rico. He heard these stories and coined the name, and it just kind of stuck from there.
And that's the Puerto Rico connection again. I still find that
Mhm.
fascinating that everything I've ever heard was that that's where it originated from.
Ground Zero.
That's definitely where the name comes from, at least. Mocha, I believe, is in Peru, actually. And those reports are definitely predate the name Chupacabra. So
So crazy because that's thousands of miles apart. So
it really is. And then, like I said, to hear reports as far north as Maine.
That's crazy to me. Maine is crazy.
Well, we had like the Montauk, monster, which was proven to be was that a raccoon? I believe is what it actually was.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, things like that. But in the same vein, like, I mean, it's the same thing as like Bigfoot, Sasquatch. Like, we have, maybe there are variations all over. Maybe it's not the exact same species, but a very close, like,
Cousin. Mm-hmm.
yeah, very close cousin. So, and it could be in South America, in Peru, and also in the Caribbean. So, I mean, and maybe they are like I said, related somehow. So it's,
I think the whole thing that's hard to take is like, we're so we're all, as a species, we're like all over the place. Our technology's all over the place. Now there are huge areas in like the northwest area of the continental United States that bleeds up into Canada. That's like a ton of just forestry that is like endless. But even though it's like we got satellite, we have like low flying planes taking photos all the time. It's so hard to picture not knowing something that's at least on the surface. That it's but then again, every now and then it's confirmed, like especially the sea creature stuff, those giant squids that wash up, or like this stuff, like when they do deep sea drilling or surveying, they find all kinds of crazy stuff. Previously, I mean, they look super alien, and we had like no idea they even existed in the first place. So I mean, hopefully someone will find a specimen, but I don't know about keeping them in zoos. I feel like a chupacabra in a zoo would be an issue.
It cheapens the myth a little bit.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it can fly, how are you even going to keep it in there?
True. We'll have to have like it would just be a depressing cell. They would have to have cages in the sky. It'd be
right next to the parakeets.
yeah, poor parakeets. Yeah, it would basically be a Jurassic Park situation.
Yeah, maybe let's leave the wild stuff out in the wild where we don't know it's actually there.
Yeah,
it seems a little less frightening that way.
Yeah, I think we can, we can live with a few chickens going missing every now and then. Yeah, that's the thing that's strange with these, like I grew up, had chickens and everything, and every now and then a fox would get them. And foxes and those kind of animals, they leave a mess behind, and it's very clear what did it, and sometimes you even see it. The waking up and finding all your livestock like drained of blood would be very unnerving. That like, I'm just of the things I know, I would have absolutely no idea what's going on. That would be terrifying. And then the cattle mutilations on top of it, the stuff that we've seen where the blood's removed, very specific parts of the skin, organs are moved, there's no bleeding on the flesh. That is strange. I don't know if you guys know too much about that, but there's been a lot of photo and video documentation. The craziest thing I've heard is that it was like a division within some military faction within the government that was doing experiments with chemical warfare or nuclear weapons, and there were certain organs that they had to harvest to test the results on what was going on, or if something leaked accidentally. And so they would just covertly go into fields and surgically remove stuff and then just leave them.
That
Both
seems
are
so
terrifying.
messy, though.
The
It
what?
seems so messy. They could just,
It really
have a
does.
bunch of cows and nobody would know. Why go in a field and just target a bunch of animals like that? It seems very messy.
Psyops. Just saying.
Oh,
I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah. Clark, you're shaking your head. What's going on here?
Yeah, I don't think there's any military operation that'd be able to pull that off, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, no. But no, I mean, sneaking versus surgical, like, think about it for a
I
second.
don't know. They got good night vision. I see those new what are
Yeah,
they?
but
Are
you
they
also need
LED
to-
based? Sorry.
Okay, so they got the best nods in the world, but they also have to be specialty surgeons.
I don't know.
And
These are super secret elite soldiers, man.
So
I mean, maybe, but
so they did
how many
7
years have those been going on?
I was about to say these
True.
guys would be 40 because they did 7 years of med school, like, and then they went to
That okay? All right, all right. Well, I mean, I told you that whole thing my grandfather was doing. When he was doing they were testing the bomb and everything. They were doing. He was in radiological health, and they would put a whole bunch of ships in the Pacific and then load them up with livestock, and then detonate a nuke in the middle. And then they would go back and harvest the bodies in like hazmat suits and then study what was going on with see, that's what my brain goes to. So I feel like it's the government.
yeah, it's just not out there. But now my biggest concern with the chupacabra, honestly, come back into it, is like what is its breeding habits? Like, what is its population size? Because you would think at this point, if it's been unmolested doing its thing its whole time, like, why haven't we found one or something? So I don't know. That's my big concern of like that, is like if it's in such a low, like if it's that rare that it's such a low population thing,
Yeah.
I don't know how it's still surviving. But if it is able to thrive and not been discovered, you would think that its population would have exponentiated, so.
Or its population for some reason is so low it's not being found out, which would also suggest like tons of inbreeding, which could account for even if we're talking about like some crazy coyote branch. I mean, that could account for some of the mutations and stuff, but I don't know.
I mean, there's animals out there that a few years ago we thought were extinct, and it turns out there's like 10 of them living in the wild still.
True.
Hundreds of years after the last one was seen.
Yeah, and soon we're gonna have woolly mammoths again. No, I'm serious. I'm
terrifying.
serious. What they're doing is they found so they've been unearthing flash frozen woolly mammoths forever, different parts of the world, and people are still eating thousands and thousands of year old woolly mammoth steaks just to say they could. And we've had this conversation before. I would do it just so you could say I ate something like before like any like, just imagine the eons of generations before like 200 generations before me even existed. I've eaten that steak. That would be so dope to say. But they have been isolating and mapping out its genome, and they found the closest living relative that could possibly be a surrogate womb for it is a specific type of elephant in India. And there's a project going on where they're going to take that particular elephant's egg and basically hollow out all the genetic material and insert the woolly mammoth one, and then fertilize it, and then have the surrogate mom carry it to term. And what they're trying to do is repopulate like the Siberian wasteland with these woolly mammoths. and there's this whole theory on why they're trying to do that. They have like this mission statement. They, as the permafrost like when there's large herding animals, this is their thing. I don't know if this is real or not. Like if the science is faulty or not. But the permafrost, if there's large herding animals constantly tamping it down, it causes more sunlight to be reflected off, which keeps the permafrost from melting and all that CO2 stuff and whatnot. But that's what they're trying to do. And it seems like they're getting close. And this is a well-funded organization that's slowly getting this pushed out. We're going to have woolly mammoths probably in our lifetime. Just saying.
That would be both really cool to see and horrifying. I mean, did we learn nothing from Jurassic Park?
That's basically the closest to Jurassic Park we're going to get to see. So
I know. I wish there was something like, I wish there was a dinosaur that was far up in north or in an environment that flash froze like the woolly mammoths. Because if we were able to extract like stable genetics from that, that would be crazy. I don't know if there's any living thing that could be a surrogate for it, though. I don't know if we have like the close enough genetics to do that unless we just synthesize it all the way down.
They found ones in China that actually still have feathers on them.
What?
That's why we know they were more bird-like than they were reptilian.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But at the same time, you can't. I don't think they'll ever be able to reproduce that because, like I said, it's an aviary species versus a large hollow-boned aviary species. I don't know how you reproduce that.
I don't know. You mean in terms of like a surrogate womb that way?
Yeah, like I'm not a geneticist, but at the same time, there's nothing living like emus, ostrich. That's the biggest thing we have. There's nothing that I think can,
unless they made a chimera of some sort and figured out that way. But the only other thing, which they've been doing chimeras in China. I'm serious. But the other thing is what was it? Okay, so if they, for instance, the cattle that they've been experimenting with synthetic wombs, they've been working on making it to where you don't even have to include the mother, and you just carry a fetus to term in a vat essentially. But it's really way more intricate than that. They have to supply the proper amount of oxygen and all of this stuff to the plasma. And but I've seen some images of them like working on it. I don't know like a ton about it, but I know that they're working on that. So if we had like a hybrid scenario where you could pull out enough viable genetic material from some dinosaur species and transfer that to like a synthetic womb situation, now we're cooking with oil. So
there is that. For some of the smaller species too, we can always look to the cassowaries. Yeah, they are essentially living dinosaurs still.
What are those? I'm unfamiliar with this.
Cassowary. It's a large emu-like bird. Absolutely violent. Like, they are ferocious. You don't want to get near one because it will start biting and clawing and kicking.
What?
But
They're
it's
aggressive.
Yeah.
Is it a K or a C?
C.
Yeah, cassowaries. But also with them, I kind of wonder, being an ootopic, like they're laying eggs. I just wonder how we are. Do you even need
a synthetic womb?
Yeah, like I'm going. Yeah, you do even need the womb at that point. Like, can we take cassowary DNA and on that with actually what we
crazy.
Know.
Yeah, these things are basically like
modern raptor, little mini raptor, because actual raptors are way smaller. They're not the things we see in Jurassic Park. So,
dude, if you just stripped all the feathers off and fossilized that guy, I would be like, yeah, that's a dinosaur. Like the head, that's crazy. The legs alone. Like I have a ton of turkeys around me, and I've always been like, those are like tiny velociraptors. These things are that on steroids. Wow.
Pretty much, yeah. They've got talons that are just as big as my hand.
Yeah.
I think they have one big prominent claw too, just like the raptors.
Like a dew, almost like a dew claw.
Yeah, they got one like dominant claw that's actually so similar to like
Wow.
how Dr. Grant in Jurassic Park says, like, oh, it has a 6-inch retractable claw.
Life
That
will
whole
find a way. I can't do a good Jeff Goldblum impression. I want to though. It's just a lot of stuttering and pauses. Life will find a way. Yes. I need glasses or something because I need to like fidget with something. He's always fidgeting. Talk about
I'm
weird
curious
interviews.
about
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just was literally all I was saying was talk about a weird interview. To watch a Jeff Goldblum one, but go ahead. Super irrelevant.
It's all right. I was wondering about the chupacabra, if it was always mentioned or referred to as an animal, or were there talks of alien links in there?
There are talks of alien links.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the more out there theories are that somebody's taking like coyotes or stray dogs and breeding them with aliens to get this weird hybrid creature.
Oh, I wasn't expecting
Right?
that to go there, but oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, as I said, that's some of the more out there claims. And then there have been a couple of claims where it is just an alien or like an alien dog, alien pet type thing.
Mhm.
And those are the more humanoid references tend to be along those lines.
Okay.
Interesting.
Maybe we.
And
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, I just have so many questions.
Yeah, no, I'm
Um,
terrible at
yeah.
timing, so please continue.
I was doing some quote unquote research, was really just watching TV shows, and I was just looking around at what depiction we have of the chupacabra. I have really 3 or 4 main TV shows that I usually go to find cool stuff, and the first one that I chose was X-Files. They have an episode dedicated to the chupacabra, and in that episode, it is not really an animal; it's more like a virus of sorts. And I was wondering if outside of the media, if there were ever talks of it being a virus or some sort of disease that would turn people into bloodsuckers.
Honestly, that is one of the few things I have not seen hypothesized
Hmm,
about this. You know, everything seems to point to it being a creature or an alien or something physical.
interesting. Because in another show that also had another episode about Chupacabra, Grimm's, if you're familiar with it was pretty much the same thing. A doctor got stung by a big old bug, I think, in Central America, and he turned into this animal that in between a rat, a dog, and a bat, I guess. And they were able to cure somebody else that he infected, but again, it was a virus of sorts.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with that one.
Mhm.
I've seen the X-Files episode, but that was years ago.
Yeah.
But I
I'm
never got
curious.
around to watching Grimm.
Please do. It's fun.
I'm curious because that also brings up the like the vampire connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like it maybe being a spinoff because we don't have like an actual like Central American vampire lore story that I know of. Maybe you guys have heard of one that I haven't, but Chupacabra kind of takes that role of the vampire lore of like something that comes in. It's not taking over people, but it's like sucking blood of creatures and not leaving a lot of mess. Like it's not like
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But and then like kind of leaving and disappearing in the night, and people have very few sightings of it and things like that. So I just wonder if or not really wonder, but just I find that interesting that like not necessarily an alien connection, but like the vampire connection. That's kind of interesting if like maybe culturally that's where they
Mm-hmm.
went with it instead of like what we think of like European like a vampire culture. So
I think the only thing that would be different in a way is from the very superficial research I did on those chupacabra. they weren't really saying that it was intelligent and cunning as a vampire is usually portrayed as. So I don't know.
Interesting. Oh, by the way, Lily, was the episode you were talking about with the X-Files, was it the one where they were like in a village and then the hazmat team came and the eyes were like melted out?
Exactly, yeah.
I love that show.
I think I love it. I've watched it so many times.
So good.
I think they didn't give a very conclusive ending. I don't even think the original guy that was infected died or anything like that. I think he transformed into this very alien-like, scaled skin, gray and vicious animal, but he didn't really die or run off into the distance.
There's a few of them that are like that. There's one later on when Mulder's away and the other guy comes in, and there was a guy that would basically shift like a reptilian situation. Then there was the guy that would like hibernate every like 30 years and emerge, and like he was all stretchy and he ate livers. That show is wild. I don't think there's anything like it on TV right now, like a serious show. It's hard to think. I don't know.
I also looked into Supernatural, but again, I didn't rewatch the whole thing this week, but I didn't find an episode that was centered around the Chupacabra. It was mentioned a few times, I believe, and I think maybe an episode was named that for the theme of it all, but I don't believe there was an episode centered around this cryptid.
They did a few that was based on like dogs attacking people, things like that. But yeah, Supernatural, I don't think they actually did a direct Chupacabra episode. It would have been early seasons, like the first 5 seasons when it would have been. So,
isn't Supernatural coming back? Isn't there like a big reunion thing happening?
I heard something about that.
Oh, is it a movie or they're prequeling the show?
I think they're prequeling the show. It's actually going to be about their dad.
Huh.
Oh yeah. I never really watched much of it, but I know there was something about their dad going to hell or something.
They all went to hell.
Oh, they did.
Many times. All of them.
Many times.
Like, the number of times they died, went to hell, and were brought back is just crazy.
That reminds me, Constantine 2. That is coming. Oh, Clark, come on.
I thought I got canceled.
Wait.
What? Are you serious?
I think they said
nobody would cancel on Keanu Reeves.
No. I saw this it was not that long ago, like 3 weeks ago. I saw this. They're not going to do it. So.
No.
Oh man, that was the only thing I was really looking for. All the stuff about Keanu Reeves possibly entering the MCU, I don't care about that. I want to see Constantine too.
Right?
I agree.
That would be amazing.
No, it's all those fake trailers I'm just getting. You know, those ones where they Photoshop and like cut up a bunch of other movies. I hate those.
Shia LaBeouf coming.
Oh, ew, no. Let's.
He's got his full beard and they have the angel wings on him going, just do it.
Isn't he going through a rough time right now? I think Shia LaBeouf is consistently going through troubles all the time.
Yes.
Oh, and he fucked it up with Mia Goth. How could you do that? Like,
shame.
I know.
I guess I have another weird question for you, Amber. It's a little bit out there, but I am a certified armchair psychologist, and I love the Wendigo. It's probably my favorite cryptid. I was wondering if the Chupacabra has any themed around it that would be maybe a disease or a mental illness, maybe something like that. Because I know the Wendigo has a lot of, for example, it's been tied to the fear of the indigenous population of modernism and greed. So I was wondering if the Chupacabra had the same connection.
I wouldn't be surprised to find that there is one, but
Hmm.
if there is, I haven't personally come across anything about it. But almost all of the sightings take place in some rural community, farming town, and they're losing the animals that they count on for their livelihood.
Hmm.
So, there's definitely some fear there that's going to show up.
Right? It makes me think that if it could be maybe punishment for the farmer or the family or something like that, to have their entire livelihood reduced to nothing in one night. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonder
it
if there were some
definitely
connections
could.
there.
I feel like
To,
no, go ahead, Clark.
I was just gonna say to make the Wendigo Chupacabra connection, you can make that connection, but
Hmm.
it would have to entail that the Chupacabra was human before it becomes monster.
Mm.
Hmm.
Wendigo is human before it becomes monster.
There's so many accounts of it. In the earlier tales, it's a dear god that comes in and swoops somebody. It's so weird. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It's very basic. Well, so I'm part Native American. We're doing
Hmm.
this for those who didn't know. And it's not part of my culture of where I'm from, but
Hmm.
I do know a lot about the Wendigo. And yes, it's like kind of tied similar to the Leshen. The Leshen is the
Hmm.
European woods god, which is kind of the monster that is tree-like, and I guess deer and tree-like. And Wendigos are generally they are spirits who are humans who have uh are basically it becomes starvation, becomes cannibalism.
Hmm.
You're taking the flesh and you become um a ravenous creature basically that has to haunt that, and like you will crave human flesh and things like that, and the blood, and then when you get that you become more and more, I guess, human, but at the same time, when you are starving you are emaciated and tree-like and like spindly, all
Hmm.
muscle and things like that. And that's generally how it is, how it's like portrayed.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
so cool.
that's kind of how Chupacabra would be also, is kind of a spindly blood
Uh-huh.
creature. So that's where the connection is, and that's where I see it as like, it's definitely possible that you could make a connection with those two.
Mm.
But you
Yeah, most
have,
of the reports. Sorry.
I was just
Go ahead.
saying, you would just have to make the human connection. It's
Hmm.
kind of the only thing that would be the go between.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in the description. Most of the reports of Chupacabra have it being a very emaciated creature.
Yep.
Mm.
And that would also make sense too if it is a Central American Wendigo. Let's just like
Hmm.
take for a second and think that this is a possibility. The way protein distribution is through North America, all of our mammals are, as you go farther north, they get bigger. So deer, like North American deer in Maine, are far bigger than white-tailed deer in the southeast, the
Interesting.
American southeast. And then you go to Central America, and you don't really have any big, like large mammals. You have like I forget what they're called, but they're like a small pig like creature. You don't have any like big mammals actually in Central America. The farther north you get, the bigger the mammals get, even with the
Why is
bear.
that?
I don't know why. Like that's just how. It might be just because of what they have availability or
Hmm.
for food, things like that. But the bears are the same way. You have black bears in the south. You have brown bears as you go out west and north. And the bears get exponentially bigger. Same thing with moose. You don't have moose, south of a certain, you know, uh, latitude,
Hmm.
and it's the same thing. Like all of our mammals get exponentially bigger. We have big reptiles and big insects in the south. We have very big mammals and very big, yeah, predators, things like that up north. Um, and that's just how they grow. So it would be interesting to think that something in Central America would be a smaller emaciated creature that's sucking on blood. And you have Wendigo that would be, as you go farther north, it's actually looked at as a bigger creature, like a taller, more man-like creature, things like that. So, just a total random throw out there.
That is so intriguing. No, thank you for that. That was really interesting.
Seth, you got anything to throw in
No,
there?
no, I don't. I do find it interesting that I don't know. Like that reminds me of the whole thing with the fossil record that like when the planet had a higher oxygen percentage, animals were much bigger. Like you had giant centipedes and stuff, which is crazy. Could you imagine like and we've talked about this kind of before in like a debate on the whole carbon thing. But the interesting thing is like it would be really cool to experiment in like I don't know, a pressurized chamber where not only was there a higher oxygen percentage, but also, and it was like airtight, the pressure was higher and there was more oxygen ratio. And then you just breed a ton of like insects in them, like generations of them. And that would be really interesting to see the results. If I was a billionaire, that's what I would be doing. So. And I would
Please
also
let them up. Just lock them up, please. I don't want to see a huge earthworm or a spider or anything like that.
I would also try to like figure out. I know the moon's huge, but it would be cool to add. I know it has a very extremely thin atmosphere, not one that we would consider an atmosphere by like relative standards, but it does have somewhat of an atmosphere. It would be really interesting to see if you could cause a chain reaction with, I don't know, just bombarding it with missiles of water and different organic compounds, or breed different types of mold or bacteria that are like you breed them in a lab to be like really resilient to high levels of UV radiation and lack of oxygen and cold temperatures and stuff, and you like get like genomes from like places on Earth that we never really thought life could exist, like way down deep, send a probe, harvest specimens, and like try to genetically engineer something that, even if it was like just growths, like half plant, half mammalian, like growths of some kind that could survive that surface, so you would have something producing like oxygen and carbon and different elements, and like, I don't know, get an atmosphere kind of thing going on. It would be really cool to see some of those craters with actual water in them, make it like an oasis. It would not happen in one person's lifetime, but again, if I was a billionaire, I would be augmenting my body all the time and pushing my expiration date further and further, and eventually scanning my mind and merging with AI, and then building like a really good like robotic body to upload my mind to and make several copies of myself, and then basically make a paradise on the moon and live there and with all my giant centipedes. So that's what I would do.
And how does that make you feel?
Great. I mean, if I could do that, I would. And I would be very happy.
Yeah, as long as you're keeping the giant centipedes on a different planet from me.
Oh yeah, everything. Well, at that point, we're gonna have metal bodies. It's superior to the flesh. You can't see it here, but reflesh the total body. I have a poster up there. You got to reflesh the body. So once we reflesh the body with superior metal, and we can live wherever we want and be around giant centipedes, they won't harm us. Be impervious to their talons and claws. So
Goodness, I'm never gonna get sleep tonight. It's over.
Right?
I'll just be dreaming about chupacabras and wendigos and humongous centipedes.
I think it's the centipedes that are gonna get me.
Yeah, but you'll have a metal body. You won't have to fear them then. And then even if something damage happens to your body, you could just upload your mind to several databanks and other bodies and just make endless copies of yourself. It'd be great. It would be a planet of me. Everybody would have their own planet. It'd be great.
I don't want my own planet. I'll go insane.
One of me is enough. We don't need
I
more.
agree. I'm the same. Yep.
Oh man.
I want to take everything you just said and put it on like one of those like video dating websites.
Let me know how that goes, because I want to see the results.
We could do that for this podcast. I could start a profile, but I'll Photoshop to where I'm like I have like metal and I'm like starting to paste like aluminum foil on, and I just constantly talk about refleshing the body and everything I just said. It will be in my bio, and I'll have a bunch of illustrations to go with it. We'll do that, and then we'll constantly do a checkup, and then I'll do a news report to tell everybody how it's going.
I can't wait for that.
They're just a bunch of freaks message me.
That's the scariest part. Is there will be someone who's like, I'm all about this.
I want to know what type of person is going to respond to that.
Oh, that's great. I'm doing it. It's happening. So
It's happening.
Send me the link so I can watch.
Yeah, I'll keep everyone updated. I'll send screenshots and stuff. But also for the viewers, I wanted to rest assured, because we had some scary news earlier that Constantine 2 is canceled. But as of February 6, 2023, a representative for the studio stated that Keanu Reeves-led sequel has not been canceled, thanks to industry insider Casey Walsh. Fans learned that the recent announcement of Constantine 2 might have been canceled in response to a now-deleted tweet. Walsh bluntly stated Constantine 2 is not happening, but that is not the case. So we're in business. Constantine 2 will be happening.
I'm relieved.
I know.
Awesome.
I know. It's going to be great.
Shia LaBeouf is signed on.
Oh.
Go ahead and instill that fear right back in your hearts.
Yeah, but didn't something happen to him recently? Wasn't there some controversy? Like he's been like on and off the wagon. He's fell on hard times, and then there was something recently, but then it like disappeared. Is it like a James Franco situation?
I have no clue.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Guy who has an entire Transformers collection behind him. I just have something against Shia LaBeouf.
You should. It should be a thing. You should always like have a thing about Shia LaBeouf.
Mm-hmm.
Just angry about him for no reason. Yeah, he. The thing is, he's like a really good actor. Like once he like branched off and did his own stuff. I remember when he did Fury with Brad Pitt. Like Brad Pitt sometimes goes down deep in like the method acting. Shia LaBeouf, according to him, like went really deep. He wouldn't bathe. He was just like a disgusting soldier the whole time, and he was in it. But in order to get a good performance, you got to have a crazy one. I mean, you just
Okay, but take a shower.
Tom Bernthal.
Yeah.
no. They didn't have showers in the tanks.
I am sure.
Like,
I'm sure
not-
somebody like dumped him in the river at some point during the filming.
I think they did for John Bernthal. Like I said, he's a badass, and he's in that movie, and he's even gone out and said he's been like, yeah, we were just like, dude, we're gonna like throw you.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
But there's limits, people.
Trying to think of any other crazy stories of like method acting. Like I know that I can't stand Jared Leto.
I
He's
agree. I'm right there with you.
yeah,
Same.
he's like too rich and too pretty and has his own island full of all the girls he wants. Like it's insane the what he gets away with. But I've heard that when he was the Joker, which is probably the worst rendition of the Joker I've seen in Suicide Squad, but it was redeemed in the
Yeah.
Snyder cut. Like it worked in that like 2-minute scene he was in, but like first off, Snyder should have just been in charge of the whole thing. That's a different topic. But I heard that he was like sending condoms to all his coworkers and constantly doing like super weird pranks, and everybody like did not like it. But he's in like that bubble where he's probably got a posse of yes men, and he just, I don't know, he's just in his own bubble, and he probably won't realize how much of an asshole he is ever.
And it's such a shame because in what was it again? Requiem for a Dream, I think the movie was. He was great in that. I'm still traumatized by the movie, but he was okay in that.
Yeah, and he got murdered really well in American Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
He got- well, he didn't get murdered in Urban Legend, but he was in Urban Legend.
He didn't die.
Yeah. No, he didn't die in Urban Legend. Spoiler
That was
alert.
such a bad movie. I watched it because someone convinced me that it was really good and on par with like that campy Scream vibe. And I didn't. I love Scream, the first Scream, but Urban Legend just didn't land for me. It was a little too 90s for. It was like a literal 90s film. I don't know.
But we've actually mentioned this before on another episode.
I feel like we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
And
isn't.
I said that it was a ripoff of I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is a ripoff of
Yeah.
Scream.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a copy of a copy. But yeah. Interesting stuff.
He's just the product of a different generation. He was like 90s heartthrob to one generation. He was emo singer for 30 Seconds to Mars for another generation. And now he's become like reinvented actor, cult leader for a new generation. So he's like existed for 3 generations. And you know, God bless him for looking as good as he does at his age.
It's
like
impressive. 50. Yeah, it is impressive.
I mean, I'm not gonna, but still.
There's a YouTube channel where they take like very small villages in the Middle East that like have no real they have electricity, but they don't have like internet. They're completely like cut off from the rest of the world, like culturally. And so they just show them like pictures of celebrities and weird videos from us, and they do reaction videos, and they had them like all guess like our celebrities' age that are like in their 50s and 60s, and like Charlize Theron, and one was Jared Leto, and they all were like with Jared Leto, they were all like these were people that have lived hard enough lives to where they looked like they were 60, but they were like in their 30s, like rough sun, and they're farmers, and you know, and they were all like 18, 20, like with Jared Leto.
Wow.
And when they would reveal it, that most of them like wouldn't. They were like, "This is a prank." That they wouldn't believe it. It's funny. So, yeah, it's all that you know, baby blood and what's that chemical? What's that chemical where they scream and terrorize the babies, and they what's the Clark? You know what I'm talking about. They have
You're
those.
talking about Monster and Company? Is that what you're?
No. That is just a predictive programming telling you what they're doing, and if we don't do anything about it, they think it's okay and they continue doing it. What is it when all those underground tunnels with the children, and they terrify them, and then they harvest their blood, and there's a Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Whatever. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But what is it? What is the name? It's
but what I was actually
Uma Abedin is like really into it, I hear.
What I was thinking when you were talking about that is that he's like the modern day Erzbet Bathory. Like he's bathing in all the virgin blood, and that's how he's because he's got the cult with all these like girls. Yeah, it's probably what he's
so
actually
weird. The whole thing is so weird.
Ah, yes, the dark virality of a Hollywood blood harvesting conspiracy. Here we go. I will find the name in just a second. Let's see. I like how controversial this is getting all of a sudden. Adrenochrome. Adrenochrome. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah. So Umut Abedin and Anthony Weiner and Hillary Clinton, they go down to the tunnels with Oprah Winfrey and Tom Hanks, and they terrify the children. They harvest the blood, which once the children are scared enough, they produce a compound called adrenochrome, and then the blood sucking shadow government Hollywood elites will harvest that blood, and it causes youthful appearance, and they don't age as long. So yeah, adrenochrome. There you go.
I was on board until you said Tom Hanks. Why?
You haven't seen all the strange photos of the socks and the gloves that are only one that he
Uh-uh.
posts constantly on his Instagram, and
That is so
next to
strange.
particular symbols that I won't get into, that have to do with
Symbols.
a certain pizzeria that was in the news not too long ago.
Oh, you don't say. I'm
Okay.
gonna have to do some digging. Okay.
Yeah,
Seriously.
just type into Google Tom Hanks pizza gloves Instagram conspiracy theory. You'll get all the very accurate details.
Yet another list I'm gonna be put on. Awesome.
Yeah, and also I hope you have a VPN. So there you go.
I will not be part of the besmirching of Tom Hanks.
I will let somebody else tell me all about it.
Yeah, I know a
There you
ton
go.
of people that completely are to the conclusions that I'm hinting at. So yeah, it's interesting. But I know people. I've been exposed to it. It's all pretty crazy. I'm not someone that like dismisses something outright. Because crazier things have happened, but it's something that is akin to me. Just it's like I like to just pop a bag of popcorn and like watch the drama of like what these people are saying. I like extremely fringe conspiracy theories that are so heinous that it's there's a comedian named Tim Dillon that explained it really, really well. So like, you know, this stuff with like Epstein and everything that everyone's aware of, that's very, very real. There's a certain generation that recently gained access to the internet and the tsunami that it is. It just doesn't. It's a fire hydrant. And once like a few things are like confirmed and they're like, you know, like flight logs and weird stuff going on an island, and then this guy like kills himself, then all of a sudden these people that are fresh on the internet and they're kind of that matrix of the government's, you know, always trying to do the right thing, and they're just doing their best and have our best intentions at heart. Once all that's disillusioned and that framework that they grew up in through like the pre-internet era is shattered, then once they get online for the first time and want to learn and research themselves, the problem is that there is truth out there and there's a lot of interesting questions to be asked, but at the same time there's a lot of delusional conspiracy theories and stuff that may have something to it but has no like concrete basis to just like start throwing out accusations, because you got to be careful about accusations, because if you can quickly, if you label something really bad and you constantly do that, what happens when the actual bad thing comes and you start labeling that? You've devalued that label by labeling everything you don't understand that. So it's important to go into like an accusation with more like evidence-based approach and as much carefulness as you can to be accurate. And so the generation that I'm speaking on, they're just exposed to the wide web all of a sudden. And, you know, you've got like David Icke and reptilian people and all of this stuff that they're just being blasted with, and they haven't grown up with the internet, so it's really hard to discern or understand that some random guy on Twitter may not have all the facts straight, you know what I mean? And some channels and Twitter accounts can come off quite official. They look and present themselves really well, so there's just a generation that has trouble discerning what's what, and it's weird, but it's really fun to watch.
Yes. I'll just add really quick that it wouldn't surprise me at all if, for the sole purpose of diluting all the conspiracies that we have, that, you know, some fake ones are thrown in there. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I agree. Hi, Alex.
Definitely.
Hi.
I got like 5 minutes. What are we talking about?
We're talking about Tom Hanks, Pizzagate, adrenochrome, and locking children in tunnels.
Possibly Chupacabra sucking all of that out of them.
Was tonight? Aren't you guys going to talk about chupacabras?
Yeah, it turned into this.
Holy cow. Okay, so all right, I'm trying to draw the connection or the lines from Tom Hanks to Chupacabras. How does
Uh,
that work?
Honestly,
uh,
not sure how we got over here.
yeah. Well, we were talking about blood and stuff, and we started getting into movies, and then why does the guy from Morbius not ever age? And then we got into adrenochrome and Tom Hanks and tunnels and stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Speaking of Morbius, I watched it a few weeks ago, and oh my goodness, it is worse than I thought. Oh my
What?
goodness.
Are
I
you
wasn't
saying
even
that's
that
not the
bad.
peak of cinema?
I didn't think it was that bad. I actually
Upside
kind of
down,
liked it.
yeah.
Pretty bad.
What are the trails? Like he has like echolocation, but he has like this this material that like comes off him as he's like transporting and it made like the logic made no sense in that film. That's what upset me.
I
Yeah.
think what it might have been is that they were trying to use too much of the cartoon,
Oh,
but then
no.
like putting their own spin on it at the same time. But you know what? I didn't think it was that bad.
I'm
not
just
gonna
glad
lie.
I'm just glad that it exists so the memes can exist. It's Morbin time.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. Well, okay, you guys. I just wanted to quick stop by, say hello, see what you guys were talking about. But this is too weird for me, so I'm gonna leave now. It's good seeing you guys.
All right, good seeing you.
It was good seeing
See
you.
ya.
All right, see you. Bye.
Well, that was fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway.
So can we all agree that Morbius is in fact a mutated Chupacabra? Can we agree on that?
I think I can get behind that.
Okay,
Could
all
be,
right.
yeah.
I'll get a script going.
Definitely could have the same powers. I mean, I don't know where the echolocation comes in, but
Have you seen Morbius?
I have not seen Morbius, but I have because I'm a super nerd. I have a Morbius #1 back here.
Oh, you mean the actual
Oh,
comic?
wow.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you should watch it because it was a lot of fun to hate.
Yeah.
I just
So
don't like
if you don't take it
Sony,
too
yeah.
seriously, it's pretty fun.
It's the room of superhero movies.
It's the
Mhm.
same-
You just gotta
Yes.
forget all about the comics before you watch it.
Yeah, I didn't want Sony to do the Venom movies, and Carnage is my favorite Marvel villain.
Yeah.
And so like all the Sony movies, I've just not been a fan of. So I didn't watch Morbius yet. I will watch it. I probably will watch it and not really care because I don't take stuff so seriously.
Mhm.
I liked the Venom movies more than I liked Morbius.
I agree. I
I mean,
agree.
they're fun. Like the first, I'll watch both the Venom movies, and they're fun. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like Carnage is my favorite MCU villain, and I say MCU. He's my favorite Marvel villain. I wish he was in the MCU.
Yeah.
I wish Disney
That would
had.
be pretty awesome.
I wish Disney had rights over him because he would be way better. So
Isn't
Give it enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Superman 007 now? What's his name?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah. He's been I'm pretty sure it's confirmed he's 007, the new one after Craig.
Oh.
I know. I really wanted Tom Hardy to be. I like Tom Hardy a lot. He's a great actor. He picks his own projects and stuff, but I heard he was on the roster of like potentials. But yeah, that guy got it.
I really liked the idea of Idris Elba.
Same.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He was the ship's captain on Prometheus, wasn't he?
I
The Christmas tree.
don't remember.
Not sure about that.
Such a good
Yeah.
film. Prometheus
only-
was so good.
I only like Alien and Aliens. So
Dude, have you not seen? I'm sure you've seen Prometheus.
parts of it, I know it has
Oh,
Michael Fassbender in it,
Mhm.
and I just
Dude,
Which
the-
he's
I'm
great
all right.
in it.
I understand your love of the first Alien. It's hard
Alien-
to.
Mhm.
Alien is my favorite. Like
Yeah.
I
It's
didn't-
iconic.
Yeah, it's
It
it's my
is.
favorite sci-fi horror movie ever. The Xenomorph is my favorite monster movie, like
Mhm.
movie monster ever. So
Well, all I'm saying is the intentional divergence with Prometheus and then Alien Covenant, I really liked for its own thing. Like there's a graphic novel now. You can get it as a graphic novel, but it was released in issues called Fire and Stone, and it follows like the Promethean line. And I think we talked about this at some point. I really liked the fact that the space jockeys, that turned out to be their suit rather than them, and all of that stuff. But the lore of Prometheus is so rich, and they were going to do a third to where they actually go to the actual home planet of the space jockeys, Prometheans, whatever you want to call them. But the problem was Disney bought all that IP up right when they were gonna start the pre-production, and I have no faith in Disney to do a third installment to that one, and for them to embrace like true body horror. I don't feel like, and now maybe they have some stuff that's a little bit more edgy and not like just catered to children, but I'm just worried about the Alien franchise, because I do want it to continue in some fashion, and I liked the direction, but yeah, I don't know. Like the whole David AI thing and the levels of meaning behind that, where he's basically someone's creation, and then David's hell-bent on destroying his creator kind of plot, and it was so good. It was so good.
Third podcast, movies.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
that's Stefan Movies coming to you soon.
Clark, should we tell them, the audience, the game that you suggested to me last night that I didn't know existed? If you're into H.R. Geiger.
Oh yeah, Darkseid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So if you like H.R. Geiger's art, there's a game called Darkseid that was in the early 90s, 92, I think, 92, 3. And it's on MS-DOS and PlayStation 1, things like that, which is kind of crazy. If it came out in 92, the PlayStation didn't come out until 95, so it would have been like ported, I guess, later. But it's all of his art, and it's a very immersive point and click like adventure where things happen. Like it's a very like cerebral kind of experience, and it's all H.R. Giger or Geiger, however you want to say his name. All of his artwork. So like as you click on stuff, like things move, like the environment changes, and it's all his artwork. So if you think about what the Xenomorph looks like, very mechanical, like biomechanical with tubes and things. It's really immersive game. So
yeah, I'm hell-bent on either finding an emulator, getting a Sega Saturn to play it, or I'm sure if I go down the Reddit rabbit hole on this, I could find some port of it for Windows, or at least a somewhat modern build of Windows. I'm pretty convinced I can do it.
Oh, there's gotta be a way.
Yeah. It's you know what's sad is a lot of that stuff, there's a handful of games that just kind of like got lost to time, stuff that was landlocked on old, like what was the one, that console, the Commodore, it was a computer, Commodore 64, like that era. Like there's just some stuff that I've heard was lost to time, and people have been trying to find ROMs, but or like cartridges that are dead.
I might know a couple of people who have some of that.
Connections. This is good.
Yeah. I mean, I work in the video games industry, so stuff like that is just second nature for us. Somebody's always got something.
Nice. Yeah. We need like you know that seed bank in I forget if it's somewhere way up.
Norway, I believe.
Yeah. We need like an arc of that for like data. Like to house
there's a lot of I mean ROM dumps that it's pretty much been that, like a lot of people are doing that, like trying to make sure that like a lot of these like old games are actually getting ROM dumped into like computers now, so we have them.
I know, but what about the solar flare? We need a structure to house. Hey, the last solar flare to happen was in the 1800s, and it caught telegraph wire or telegraph paper on fire. So imagine what the electrical infrastructure we have in the air would do, and we're due another surge. Just saying, we need to have lead-lined bunkers with like Faraday cages in them where we can keep drives and whatnot.
What's that called again? The Kerrigan effect? Is that what it is?
Solar
Yeah.
flares?
Sounds
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keratin.
Yes, that's what it is. Mm-hmm.
I believe, what was it, 2012, Clark, that one missed us? One big discharge?
One missed us. It should have hit us, and it missed us. It should have hit us.
Man.
Like everything said, this is going to hit us, and something deflected it, and we don't know what deflected it. So
Yeah. There's YouTube and TikTok channels with guys that have really high powered telescopes that have crazy filters that they put on it so that you can look at the sun. And there are regions that are incredibly active. Like seeing like those spots that look like it's molted whatever. It's plasma, but the way it looks, if you look at all the patterns, it looks like just tons of magnetic arcs, like in pockets. Like there's so much electrical magnetic activity that it channels those small discharges to just keep funneling back to the sun. It's terrifying how powerful that thing is.
Mm-hmm. And the scale of it is also just incredible.
Yeah. Yep. Probably wipe us out one day.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be quick.
Probably
If we're
will
lucky.
be.
Yeah.
I feel like there would be a large
If-
boom if our atmosphere got hit. Would there be a boom and then nothing? Like we would just be wiped out? I don't know. I'm trying to picture it.
if our atmosphere got
Like if there was a massive solar discharge that just struck us, it would be coming through. It would pierce through the Van Allen belts to us. I mean, it would destroy our outer shielding. What is it? The
ozone layer.
No, well, like before that, there's a magnetic part of the way out atmosphere that's called the magnetosphere or something like that.
There's a lot of the magnetosphere, but that's always moving.
Okay.
Oh.
The upper troposphere, the stratosphere, have the forget what the one below that is, and then you have what we consider our atmosphere. So
I just wonder if there would be like an audible noise or sight, or if it would just move so fast we wouldn't know it hit us. Like if you were close to like an atomic bomb blast, you wouldn't really. I mean, there's a shock wave out far, but if you were close to it, you would just be dead.
There's an 8-minute delay from anything the sun does to us.
Yeah. But by the time it strikes, by the time it first enters in our outermost atmosphere, you're talking about seconds.
Even if the sun were to go supernova and it's not anywhere near that in its age cycle, but like if it were to do anything, like it would take 8 minutes for the light. Like at light speed, anything the sun does at light speed will take 8 minutes to get to us.
Mm.
So does it mean that we would just be staring at the sky for those 8 minutes until the actual impact, or
we'd be dead before we'd actually see what
that solves it?
They hit us.
Yeah. At least it'd be fast.
My superior metal body will survive on the moon, so I'll have built-in lead and Faraday contingencies. I'll be good. So Chupacabra, well, we can wrap up on. We can. Do you have any closing notes on Chupacabra?
I mean, I think we covered most of the highlights. It's definitely one of the more plausible cryptids in my mind.
Yeah,
So
mine too. I'm with you on that.
I want it to be a semi-aviary cave-dwelling creature. I feel like that's the only way it would exist and survive and be able to breed. And
Okay.
Real,
So like a chicken, just a really messed up chicken.
basically. And predatory,
Okay.
Just
All right.
because I want to be a contrarian, I really want it to be some sort of virus. I want it to be evolving and getting onto someone and turning them into this weird animal.
Okay. So we have like a viral zombie like situation with you. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that was That was something. Amber, thanks for lending your time and coming on here and telling us about that. And I appreciate your patience with all the side stories and stuff. But this has been a good one.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Um. Do you guys have anything else to say? Clark, do you wanna dismiss us?
Oh, do I need to do send off?
Yeah.
Oh, I did the intro. So, well, guys, once again, we want to thank you for tuning in. And, we don't want to talk about things that are normal. We want to talk about things that are effing weird. So, thanks again, and we will see you next time.